So, I'm here with Paige Hulls, the director of The Children. So, thank you for coming, Paige.
Thank you for having me. Not a problem.
So, Paige, obviously, with a film on this spectrum, a lot of planning and preparation goes into it. What exactly did you do to prepare for a new movie of this nature?
Well, of course, I didn't do it all by myself. There was a fantastic team behind the scenes in order to make sure our film appealed to the audience. As well, we created an animatic which we could view to an audience.
For those of us who don't know, can you just explain what exactly is an animatic and what does it do?
Well, an animatic is a digital storyboard, and it conveys our idea to an audience, and they give us feedback to improve and build on our idea.
I see. So the animatic is used to give you an idea of what you can improve before you make the actual film. So what area specifically did the animatic help you to improve?
Well, it's giving us an impression of what the shots will look like, the audience it's targeted at, and we've also been able to improve on visual style. We've been able to look at test shots to make sure the characters and locations were chosen and plausible and in keeping in the genre.
I see. So how did you maintain the visual style of the whole production?
Well, we displayed an animatic and produced a questionnaire which we specifically formed to get the feedback. We suggested any improvements regarding visual style. We wanted to see if it was successful in creating the right effect and look for the genre.
So the feedback you received, was it positive?
Yeah, overall it was pretty positive and we were happy with the response. Like the suggestions mainly consisted of camera shots and creating a variety within the shots.
Just go back before, what exactly did you mean by the effectiveness of test shots?
Well, the test shots, they show us whether there's fluidity in the transition from one shot to another, and to see whether we've maintained that continuity within the production to avoid any confusion. By analysing this, we can see whether there's any necessary changes to make to improve it.
So what changes did you make regarding camera angles?
Well, from the feedback from a number of viewers suggested we added more high, low shots so that we could emphasise expression on the face and to show a vulnerability. So we did that, yeah.
So I see. So if you had a high angle shot, for example, it'd make the person seem smaller and then feel more vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. So we also made further shots, a number of participants said to use more close-up shots to show the expression in the face and the actors' emotions, and it also created and developed that audience-character relationship.
So developing the animatic seems to have made a real difference to your production.
Yeah, and it wasn't just camera shots that we changed. After hearing all different kinds of views, we made changes in regards to dialogue, see whether dialogue was needed, and we found out that it was needed to reduce that confusion, and we needed to see whether it would actually fit in with the storyline and it would still flow if we used dialogue in the piece. Yeah.
I see. So regarding dialogue, what changes did you make, if any?
Well, there was a few comments made for dialogue, but there was a suggestion stated that dialogue should be used, mainly for the confrontational scenes, such as maybe move the speech forward so that it would start towards the end of the fight scene.
I see. So those changes were made, were they?
Yeah, exactly. We did a little dialogue and we actually needed it for the confrontational scene. That was the majority of the dialogue used in the piece, and it was just to build on the emphasis and the drama and the tension of the piece.
I see. So in regards to creating a dramatic film overall, was there any constructive feedback?
Yeah, the feedback suggested that we use more sound effects to like heavy breathing, footsteps to make it more upbeat, build the tension. So yeah, we did that.
Excellent. Were there any remarks made about confusion at this early stage?
Well, yeah, sadly, but we needed that for constructive criticism. My most important one was to ensure the storyline was 100% perfect. We needed a strong and dynamic storyline, and we needed to make sure it flowed and had continuity. We needed to make sure that the basic storyline was easy for the audience to understand, and to make sure it wasn't so predictable and so that they knew what was happening, so that we added a twist that was both like unique, and we needed to make sure that it was successful and that they understood it, so that would strengthen our storyline.
Of course, if you don't have an understanding of a storyline, the production itself wouldn't be successful. So what was it exactly that confused the audience?
Well, there was some confusion, and we made further changes from the feedback to do with the audience felt that we needed a flashback scene to show the background of the man, and they thought that would be really, really effective so that we can avoid that confusion, and so we actually did include that in the final production.
Ah, great. So the storyline anyway, did everyone understand it, and did anyone predict it?
Well, luckily nobody did predict our storyline, so that was good, and we were been successful in creating that unique one. So I was really happy about that.
Yeah.
The confusion seemed to be more character related, and towards especially the character Mr. Skinner, played by Ray Davies. But we all agreed that adding these flashback scenes would remove any of this confusion for the audience.
Ah, sweet. So did you make any further changes based on suggestions?
Yeah, there were suggestions in the feedback questionnaire that we should prolong the chase scene, and also the confrontational scene, so this would build on the tension. We saw that it was in customer demand that we improved on them bigger scenes, so that they wanted to see it. They were more interested in these scenes. They didn't want to see loads of the other little scenes, which were not as important, but we needed to put the emphasis on these scenes, so that that's what they wanted, and we were actually directing it for what they wanted.
I understand. As an audience, we want our favourite scenes to last longer. So overall, you included flashbacks and added running time for the favoured scenes. Do you think the storyline meets customer demand and expectations with these alterations you've just made?
Well, I hope so. It was encouraging answers, such as it was definitely strong enough to regarding our storyline, so I hope so. I think we've actually managed that and been successful in creating that.
Could you just introduce me to the two protagonists of this story? Did the animatic show or offer any suggestions regarding improvement based on like characters, say?
Well, first of all, we've got Ray Davies, and he is the teacher, Mr. Skinner, and we also have Joshua Orford, and he is the child. We needed to check that our characters did indeed fit into the storyline and they weren't just randomly placed. We needed to make sure that the characters were fully understood, and to be honest, our audience suggested a little improvement from the animatic, and we used a stand-in character for the animatic, and the audience answered that they thought we should have a man that was older and creepier, so that's why we suggested Ray so we casted Ray.
I see. So an old actor, as suggested, also gives a direct realism to this movie. That's really good.
Exactly. We were happy with the comments made about the characters. There was a few suggestions. We agreed fully that it should be creepy and weird, as they offered, and it was really important that we made these small alterations to the short film. We wanted to stick to the conventions of having a strong character-led movie.
Having strong characters does help to move like the storyline along, and you need to make like a connection between audience and characters. Did the animatic help you improve this relationship between audience and characters at all?
Yeah, we asked for suggestions towards the tension building and adding like new camera shots, like I said before. This was to help build a relationship between the character and the audience, and we wanted to create a mood and an atmosphere through location and shots, and we were able to place the character in the location, and we can like to create an impression of the character and that defines the character.
I see. So the relationship between character and audience is made up of a number of details, really, isn't it? Which like combine together to make an emotion between characters and audience and the mood.
Yeah, exactly. So the character relations are created by that mood and emotion, like you said. Yeah.
So, does the animatic feedback you got suggest like the characters were effective?
Yeah, overall, yeah, we were really pleased. The only confusion towards the man was just so we explained the character, and we obviously resolved this issue. We had a radio broadcast at the end explaining to him that the man was presumed missing and presumed dead. So yeah.
So, the animatic really seems to have made some drastic changes in this production regarding your target audience.
Indeed, we got an overall idea of what the audience thought the production was about and what it should be about, and we saw what kind of target audience we were aiming to look at, and specifically designed a questionnaire and to improve on this, to get different ideas on what they thought, so that they were getting what they wanted in the overall production. So I think we created that well and fit in with the genre pretty well. Yeah.
Were there any suggestions regarding improvement from the feedback which you chose to ignore, and why did you choose to ignore them?
Yeah, we did make large changes to do with the feedback, but there was mixed opinions, mainly concerning the characters introduced. But we did debate this and have a long discussion about what we should keep, what we shouldn't, and we decided to keep the children appearing from the tunnels because there was the higher majority of people who wanted to see that, who thought that was a good idea, so we thought we'd keep that in. But we did take into consideration other people's opinions, and we thought about it, we discussed it, but we decided this was the right route to take, so yeah.
Wow, well, it seems like you've really listened and tried to understand your audience perspective when adjusting these elements of the production.
Well, yeah, the audience satisfaction is key in a production and key for a successful production, so yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see the children on a big screen. Thank you very much for coming, Paige.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm here with Paige Hulse, director of the new psychological thriller The Children. Thanks for coming, Paige.
Thank you for having me.
So, you've already told us about how you used an animatic to plan for this production, but you mentioned backstage that you displayed a rough cut to your media students. That didn't sound right.
Just read it again.
I'm going to read the question again. Okay. I'm hot. Oh, God, never mind. So you've already told us that you used an animatic to plan for this production, but you mentioned backstage that you also displayed some rough cuts to media students. What exactly is a rough cut?
Well, a rough cut is a screening of the unfinished project, so we can gather the audience's feedback from watching the production. We gave them also questionnaires like we did with the animatic, so that they could give us our views of the rough cuts, so we could sit down as a team and discuss them, and discuss what changes we need to make, whether it fit, whether we achieved our goals with the genre, the audience, and things like that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What questions did you ask and why?
Well, we asked whether there was any changes to do with editing, whether it confused anybody at all, whether there was bits we could change and alter. We asked them, did you think the storyline worked, or were you confused at any point, and why? And whether the test screening produced the right atmosphere for the production, and whether it fit our estimations of what the production was going to be. We asked them to find out whether we've actually achieved the right kind of look for them, and whether we can sit down, look through it, look through what they've said, and so we can make the appropriate changes so that they are happy with the final piece.
Did you get any interesting feedback during the screening?
Yeah, we got feedback such as they were very confused, especially at one point at the end, which was our end scene, and they were saying why is it death by flower? Is it because he's allergic and stuff like that? And that wasn't the approach we were going for. So we had to get that and take it and change it, maybe edit the script a little bit. We also got feedback which we did choose to ignore, which was how the opening sequence kind of reminded them of a TV series, which we didn't necessarily agree with. We thought that it was fitting with the piece and with the genre and everything, so we decided to keep that in. But yeah.
Yeah.
So we also, from the feedback we had received, we decided to add another scene in. We decided to add a car scene in before the chase scene so that they knew how they got from the park to the chase scene. We did this so there was no confusion there, so it wasn't just jumping from scene to scene. It made the film longer and it explained it, and we felt that we did this successfully, so the end piece does make sense and it flows, there's continuity and fluidity. We also changed the ending. We got them to do a various number of shots, and we decided Flower at the end wasn't clear enough that the male protagonist actually dies in the end, so we thought golf clubs, and we've got a samurai sword, I think it was, to use so that it was more realistic, and we showed the man dead at the end and the children walking away from the scene. We thought this was a lot more convincing as a fight scene. We didn't actually show the action as it is taken away to another shot, so that got around the whole trying to kill him but making it look realistic. So we thought if we hear the sounds of the actual action and him screaming, everything like that, then it would be more understandable for the audience and that it would flow a lot better. So that's how that helped us.
Yeah.
With the rough cut.
Did you ignore any suggestions?
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, there was that it sounded a lot like a TV show with the opening credits, and we thought that didn't really, we didn't really agree with that, and we sat down and talked about it. We took all the information and the feedback into consideration, and we decided as a group that wasn't necessarily correct, and we felt that we had the right kind of feeling with the opening credits to build up that tension, and it was fast-paced and creepy, and we felt that actually worked quite well. So we didn't necessarily agree with that, but we welcomed all criticism as well to that. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That was Paige Hulse, the director of The Children.